Okay, so the 30-year mortgage, this is when it comes to somebody's payments, how much more, I guess this will get people into a mortgage that could not have otherwise afforded it, correct?
Marginally, yes.
Yeah.
Marginally, yes.
Yeah.
So an insured mortgage, I think the rates will be the same regardless of what the amortization is, which is great news. Previously, when we had 30-year high-ratio insured mortgages, the borrowers paid a higher premium.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens with the premiums. There's still going to be a lot of things worked out with the Canadian Mortgage and Housing Corporation, which is the Crown Corp, Sagen and Canada Guarantee in terms of getting these programs going. So I'll be very interested to see what happens when all the writing comes out. I think the one thing that people need to take into consideration is the longer amortization is great. It has a lower payment. Like it might lower someone's payment, $100 or a couple $100, maybe here or there.
Yep.
But the cost of borrowing over the term is going to be more because you're paying it over a longer period of time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, new homes typically appreciate more than maybe resale do, especially the first time around.
Yep.
And oftentimes first-time homebuyers are younger people. They have 30 years to pay these mortgages.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm not stressed about it.
Yeah.
As part of our professional organization, Mortgage Professional Canada, we've been lobbying the federal government in terms of doing 30-year high-ratio insured mortgages for first-time homebuyers for years, since they went away, basically. I wish it would have been more of a broad strokes. I wish it would be for all first-time homebuyers. I think it would be easier.
You're talking regardless of whether it's a new build or not.
New, existing, whatever. I think 30 years is not a problem for first-time homebuyers, personally.
Yeah.
Personally.
Right.
So we'll see. I think this is a good first step. I'm happy the federal government is doing it. I think it's good news for first-time homebuyers. I think it's going to be motivating. I think it's going to get some people into the market. The one thing we need to remember on high-ratio insured mortgages, the maximum purchase price is $999,000. Some of our listeners are probably like, okay, that's great. That'll take care of everyone who's buying their first home. But we need to remember in Ontario and BC, not many homes under $1 million.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Not many.
But here in this region, people could generally, and we know the market's
I give it a thumbs up.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the, I often hear people say, well, obviously if you extend it out over 30 years, as you already mentioned, you're going to be paying a lot more in interest payments over that time period. But my goodness gracious, if that doesn't motivate you to get into it, then feel free to pay rent and get nothing for all that money that you're going to throw away in rent, right? Bottom line.
I can tell you, most of the people that have any type of net worth are homeowners.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not saying that renters are poor.
No.
Because there's a lot of renters that are very good at saving, investing. I'm just going to give this to you straight. If you don't own, you need to put away the difference on how much your property would appreciate.
Yeah.
Right? And you know what? Homeownership's not for everybody. I 100% get that.
Yeah.
I 100% get it. It is tough to become a homeowner. But if people can, afford to get into a home, it takes sometimes two incomes to do it. Oftentimes, those properties are appreciating, and paying down the mortgage is forcing you to essentially save. And that's why homeowners typically have a higher net worth than renters do. It's just reality.
Yeah. Do you feel as though the 30-year mortgage could be expanded to others? So if you've bought once already and sold, are you then considered a new first-time home buyer again? You're not, eh?
No.
When I say sold, I mean
years.
Divested of your mortgage. Yeah.
So, and this is what's going to be interesting, because right now the writing on the home buyer's plan, it says basically you have to not have owned a home in 6 years.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see if those rules align with the home buyer's plan rules, because in the home buyer's plan, it also allows someone who goes through a separation or a divorce, matrimonial breakdown, to become a home buyer again, as long as they've repaid any of those RRSP funds if they used the program previously. So it'll be interesting to see if the what's considered a first-time home buyer is the same, because obviously different programs have different regulations. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in the fine print. But it's exciting to me. The one thing that came up, I did an interview with Rob Snow the other day on City News. It was on the National. The one thing that came up was that a lot of these new homes that are being built are out in the suburbs. So let's say you grew up in central Halifax. You're probably, and if you want to stay in your community, maybe you want to raise your family or have your spouse live in the community that you grew up in, you're probably buying a resale home. Probably. To buy these new construction properties, oftentimes, unless they're a condo, are likely outside of the core of the city. So that's one consideration to take into account. I understand why the federal government did it, but I think the biggest motivator on this 30-year amortization is for the builders. Because the builders want to build more homes and really need to build more homes to, keep up with demand and to meet the expectations of what the federal government has set in terms of the amount of homes.
Yep.
But the 30 years is going to enable more of those first-time home buyers to get into these new construction homes, and I hope that these are going to be at a lower cost than maybe a resale home will be. Like, let's build small townhouses, row houses that are going to be at a more affordable price. I'd love to see a price point in the $400,000 mark that's below the average in Halifax. That's going to be a lot more affordable, and a lot of people with one or two incomes are going to be able to afford that.
Okay, do you anticipate builders that I'll let you get to that in a sec, but do you anticipate that builders might be building the spec house again? Because that's something that they've gotten away from, right?
I think it's going to happen.
You do, eh? So that they'll
I
have
want
houses.
them to be very, very generic.
Yep.
I want them to be the same. I want them to be able to build them quickly, quality, and it's a lot easier to do, batch tasks, right? Let's build 100 of them at a time. Do you know what I mean? That will reduce the cost. That will increase the quality.
Yep.
And it will speed up the days to market, which will get people in homes.
Yep. And less stressful for the buyer as well, because you're not sitting around waiting for deadline. The house is built. You can go in and buy a new house built. Exactly.
You're ready to roll. I am totally for spec builds. I feel like that's what we need right now. These custom homes, there's certainly a market for that. But I feel like the custom homes are now going to be for the elite crowd. You know what I mean? I don't think first-time home buyers are building a custom home, and if they are, they've missed a few rungs on that real estate ladder.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before on our show. I think pre-pandemic, a lot of first-time home buyers were buying homes in West Bedford, brand new construction with their granite countertops and their stainless steel appliances. these homes.
Oh,
You know what these homes are.
Yep.
I love it out there too. But first-time home buyers need to be buying that bungalow, split entry, semi-detached home that Nan or Pop lived in it and sold it and needs some work. That's what a first-time home buyer really needs to buy.
Yep.
And I hope the price point that builders will start building new homes will be very similar to what that price point would be to get first-time home buyers into that marketplace.
Which would be what? What's the price point you're referencing? What do you have
I'm thinking
in your mind?
like the sub 400,000.
Oh, is that right, eh?
Yeah, like 400,000 would be a great price point for first-time home buyers to be. Right now, the average price point in Halifax is over 500,000.
Right.
So if we can bring that down into a more reasonable price, just think, borrowers can qualify right now from anywhere from like 4 to 4.5 times their annual income. So let's say the annual income is for a household, let's say even 100,000. Let's say there's two people making $50,000 each and they're making 100,000. They should qualify for $400,000 to $450,000. So I think if the builders are building in that price point, two buyers are buying together, they're going to be able to get into the real estate market. And I think new home construction sometimes is less competition as well, because there's some lead time typically. But I love the idea of these spec homes. I remember when I was first getting in the industry, like 19 years ago, there was so much construction even like out in Eastern Passage, and all these homes were the same. You used to be able to buy homes back then for like $100,000.
If you've liked what you've heard and you want to learn more, feel free to visit us online at teamclinton.ca.